Hey there, Hot Mic fans. This is not a drill. Today is Star Wars week, or at least the week leading up to Star Wars Day, May the 4th. Today is Monday, April the 29th, and have you ever wondered, what are these Star Wars films? If you haven't seen the films yet, I would highly recommend seeing them, but you might not know how to go about it. You might not know how to go about starting watching Star Wars, because it can be pretty daunting. There's soon to be 9 saga films. Obviously, there's some people that would say you have to watch them in, obviously, chronological order. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. Other people will be like, no, you have to watch them in the order of release. So, I have gone and compiled together here a nice little graphic of different ways that you can watch the Star Wars trilogies, and also I will input a little bit of my own sort of experience and maybe, hopefully, give you an idea of how you should watch these films properly.
This is where the fun begins.
Because, let's be real, I don't know if anyone really wants to start off, if they've never seen Star Wars before, and see Jar Jar Binks right off the bat. Even though Episode 1's got some redeeming qualities in Darth Maul and such. Hands down the best lightsaber fight. Maybe we'll do a video on that later. There are multiple ways to watch the Star Wars films. Obviously, like I said, they're numerical order. You can go through, you can watch it 1 to 9, once 9 comes out. So for now, 1 to 8. But you can watch it like that, and you get the full story anyways, but you don't really preserve any of the spoilers, right? So, there's certain spoilers. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Episode 5. Yeah. Pretty much everyone knows about it, but if you don't know about it, I'm not going to spoil it for you here. But if you want to know who Darth Vader is, obviously you can Google it. But the trilogy, the prequel trilogy, we'll say, 1, 2, 3, they reveal all that to you. The prequel trilogy will totally spoil the biggest twist in Star Wars for you, which, at least for now, is the biggest twist in Star Wars, except for when Jar Jar Binks returns. But so, on the screen is the chronological order. That's watching the movies from 1 to 8, or 1 to 9 eventually, and I've thrown Rogue One in the middle there, just because I sort of see it as a tack-on, or sort of an introduction to Star Wars, or Episode 4. And, it's not a bad way to watch the films, like I said, if you already know the biggest twist in Star Wars. If you don't already know the biggest twist in Star Wars, it's been 40 years. Have you been living under a rock? Most people know the twist. If you want to preserve the twist, you can go for the release order, which is what a lot of people suggest for first-time watchers of Star Wars. If you've never seen any Star Wars movie before, any Star Wars film, and you don't know any of the twists miraculously after 40 years, then you can go ahead and you can watch it release order. And essentially that's Episode 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and now 7, 8, and 9. And in there, if you wanted to, I also like to do this thing that I call the modified release order, which is essentially just putting, because Rogue One is my favorite, if not one of my favorite Star Wars movies, you put Rogue One sort of as an introduction to everything, and you start off on Rogue One. And then you move into Episode 4, and so on. So you go all the way through. That way, you're sort of experiencing it all firsthand. You're experiencing the whole saga without spoiling anything for you.
Hello there.
So if I were to go in and knowing all that I know already, and watch or do a marathon of all the Star Wars films, I would probably use this order. I like Rogue One, sort of as that introduction. So you go Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. Modified release order. And essentially, I don't need to preserve the twist, but I remember the original trilogy most fondly. And I wasn't alive in the 80s, but but even not being alive in the 80s, the first Star Wars movie I ever saw was Episode 5. So I got that twist of, hey, I know who Luke Skywalker is, and oh my gosh. Yeah. insert spoiler there for yourself. I'm not going to say it. in case someone hasn't watched Star Wars yet. Absolutely watch Star Wars.
We would be honored if you would join us.
I remember, literally, like I said, watching Empire Strikes Back with my cousins, and very fond memories of it. And then you go, of course, into Episode 1 to the first Star Wars movie I ever owned, for a fun fact, was actually Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I watched that a lot. For some reason, it didn't have that much of a profound effect on me.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back.
But, you know, the storytelling and all this other nonsense. Who needs it? But, so, then there's this really wacky order called the Machete Order. And it is essentially a way of doing everything that I was talking about. So, you want to preserve all the twists if you've never seen Star Wars before. You don't want to show a first-time Star Wars watcher Jar Jar Binks for their first film. And, essentially you want to keep it so that the story flows, so that the story is congruent. So if you look at the order here, I've put it up on the screen, you have Episode 4, Episode 5, so then you get, obviously, the big twist that is in Episode 5. Once again, if you've been living under a rock for 40 years and haven't watched a Star Wars film, but, you know, even if you haven't watched a Star Wars film, most people know the twist from Empire Strikes Back. And so you go 4, 5, and then you go back, you see Episode 2, 3, you sort of see the journey of Anakin Skywalker there, and then you go all the way back to Return of the Jedi, and you get closure on that story. And now the Machete Order has sort of grown to include now, okay, Episode 7, 8, 9, and then there's sort of everything else, you can watch it wherever. So that's like including Rogue One, Solo Star Wars story, and of course, as you can see, Phantom Menace is nowhere in the original Machete Order, because does it really offer anything in the way of storytelling? Maybe, maybe not, it's arguable. But, bar none, you know, you can try out this wacky order, which, it's not half bad, and if I were to see Star Wars for the first time, like, this was already sort of the order that I ended up seeing it in anyways. Like, you know, I saw Episode 5 first, and then I would have seen either maybe 4 or Episode 2, because that was the one that the first Star Wars movie I ever owned. But, essentially, this is a good order for, like I said, preserving the twists, making sure that you don't see Jar Jar Binks as your first ever introduction to Star Wars. So up on the screen now I have a summary, starting from the release order to the chronological, to the modified release order, and then to the Machete Order. And if you are a first-time Star Wars watcher, like I said, you're probably going to want to go for either the release order, modified release order, or the Machete Order even. But you definitely should stay away from the chronological order. It's not that Star Wars 1 is a bad film, but you need the context of Star Wars 4. You need the feeling, you need the emotion of Star Wars 4. You need the storytelling of the original Star Wars trilogy to happen before you witness Episode 1. And everything except for the chronological order will make sure that that happens. So, me personally, if I had to marathon all the Star Wars films today, or sometime this week, or prior to the release of another Star Wars film, then I would choose the modified release order. But I'm interested to see what you guys would choose. Leave it down in the comments, leave a like on the video, remember to subscribe. And now it is time for What is Nick Cage Doing Right Now? So, every episode of This Is Not a Drill will finish off with a segment called What is Nick Cage Doing Right Now? So, obviously here we have Nick Cage. He looks very blue, like Thanos blue, but a little bit lighter and a little bit more shimmery. So what could he be doing? We zoom out, and obviously he's now Anakin in Return of the Jedi. You're welcome. My Photoshop skills do not disappoint. Or do they disturb? That is, the jury is out. Leave a like for Nick Cage, Anakin Skywalker here, and obviously he's looking on at Luke there off in the distance, saying, "Hey man, not the bees." Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Star Wars Week.